Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host. Got something a little bit different for you again. I love mixing it up. This one is called Sustainable Golf, and please don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Please pass the podcast around. You're going to love it. This is episode number 69. Ladies and gentlemen, this time we're going somewhere a little bit different in the world of golf. We're going to Adelaide. I love Adelaide, golf in Adelaide and everything that it offers this country and the world. And we're going to be talking about away from the turf surfaces. We're going to be talking about vegetation, and I'm just going to get straight into it. I have on the line, and welcome to the podcast, Monina Gilbey, the Biodiversity Manager at Glenelg Golf Club in Adelaide. Welcome, Monina.
Well, thank you very much, Steve. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Now, the pleasure is all mine because there's been a recent accolade that you've won, and we'll get to that. And that's probably really I suppose a shining moment for everything that's been going on at Glenelg, to be fair, and we'll talk about that soon. But I'm really excited. We've spoken a few times now over the last probably COVID. It's fair to say COVID time over this last year and a bit, I suppose. It's been a funny time, and you guys are doing some incredible work away from turf. And I'm key to really pointing this out because I wanted to bring you on to talk about these areas of golf courses that are increasingly becoming so important in the landscape that golf courses are in and the local environment and golf in general, because they're the periphery of where we play. That's our background. That's the wallpaper stuff. That's the beautiful character of golf courses.
Yes. Exactly.
And you're at the heart of this at Glenelg. You're a key component. So I want you to tell the audience, what does a biodiversity manager do on a golf course? Essentially, what's your role? What does it entail at Glenelg?
Right. So I think some people would actually wonder why a golf course would have a biodiversity manager.
Yes.
Which is a question I have
Absolutely.
received before. And I think it's because people don't realise what you can find on a golf course. So, we've got 49 hectares of land. We've got a number of water courses. So we are home to a diversity of species, so ranging from small insects to small bird species that are the size of a golf ball, the thornbills, willy wagtails and grey fantails. And then we go up to bigger birds, so there's a huge range in between, but we go up to birds of prey like the black-shouldered kite and a collared sparrowhawk, and even pelicans come and visit too.
Would it be fair to say you're a bird watcher as well when you go to work every day?
That's right, exactly. I think because I also co-manage the social media account, and I do take a lot of photos that people just think I'm just chasing birds and butterflies and taking photos all day. But there is a lot more to my job than that. That
there is, no doubt. And just quickly, you talk about that. You do put some fantastic photos up there, I will say. And I have done some moments of bird watching in my past out in regional areas of New South Wales. I do like it. It is quite interesting. But this is all happening at Glenelg Golf Course. I'm just trying to narrow this down for people to understand, because I want people to share this out there. I want golfers, greenkeepers, people who are fans of the landscape, bird watchers, lovers of wildlife, all sorts of things, plant life as well. I want people to talk about what golf is doing and what you guys in particular. And we'll like I keep saying, we're going to get to that. So tell us more.
So, I think golf courses get a bad rap. I think, I know golf courses weren't on my radar when I was thinking about job opportunities, and luckily I know course superintendent Tim Warren. I've known him for many years, and he got me on board at Glenelg. And when I got there, I realised that it's like a refuge for animals and a refuge for indigenous plants. It's like the last arks almost that we have in suburbia.
Big words.
Because yeah, well, they are, but it's sort of, I know people think maybe you're overplaying this, and sometimes I feel like I am, but then when you look around and you see how many houses are getting demolished, how many houses are being built on small blocks, how small people's gardens are becoming, where are the pollinators going to go? Where are the butterflies going to go to find food? Where are the bees and the birds going to go? So when you look at 49 hectares of land, we have an opportunity to give back to our community and to actually protect urban biodiversity, which is what we're doing at Glenelg Golf Club. And I know many other clubs, Grange Golf Club and Royal Adelaide, are also looking at that as well. So, it's great. Go on.
There is no. I was going to say there is so much in that, and I think even I don't understand. This is why I wanted to get you on and pick your brains to exploit what's going on in a deeper level in much more detail. Because we play golf, and I'm a superintendent in the past, and I know how to look into the detail. But even then, it's the detail of the detail that's your skills, that's your knowledge.
That's where I'm working. Yes.
Look, I'll just throw it out there, and it might come across as a bit harsh, but some people are probably out there thinking Biodiversity Manager, golf course, token, right?
Yes, exactly.
How different is this from just you being employed there as a token effort to go, look, we've got some grasses over there. They're native to it. They're Australian grasses, they're llamandras. Yeah, there's heaps of them over that way. And then we've got some birds that live over here. I mean, there's so much in what I keep saying it. So what type specific, are we talking local endemic species particularly that aren't found? You haven't got East Coast llamandras that we find over here on Sydney. Yeah. They're not going to be the
lamandra, But we have a local lamandra that you can't find in many areas of Adelaide anymore.
Right.
And, Grange Golf Course has a rare orchid that is one of the only places left on the Adelaide Plains that orchid is growing.
Wow.
So if it wasn't for the golf course, those plants would no longer exist, which is counterintuitive in a way.
It is.
Because people are like, golf courses are just barren places of just turf and nothing.
They're monocultures, and we use lots of chemicals and dangerous things, and we like to go out there and kill everything that's not grass.
Exactly.
That's the short version. I read the articles in the newspapers. I read one just the other day about they're talking about rural Sydney, and a lot of people that are locals that don't look at that landscape and they just go, well, that's everything that's over that fence is bad. It's grass. It's a monoculture.
Exactly.
They're not interested in anything. But what you're talking about is this is the type of thing that we could go to a national park to explore the bird life. Essentially is available in a sense, is being harboured and is living living in a symbiotic relationship with a golf course. Is that not backwards?
I know, that's what lots of people are thinking. So if you think about it, where there's all this thing about maybe councils should take over golf courses, and maybe golf courses should just be open to public all the time. And
just
they
parks.
Can just walk around.
Yep.
Turn them into parks, doesn't matter.
Dog parks.
Yeah, and that would mean that no inch of that golf course would be sacred anymore. There'd be no out-of-play areas. There'd be no areas that people wouldn't go, because once you open it to the public, it's open slather.
So explain that a little bit more if you can. When you say out-of-play areas and things like that, what do you mean?
So when we have areas in the golf course where maybe it's a no-play zone, so we can make sure that we can protect plants, like rare plants that we're growing there, so people aren't walking around in those areas. Sure. But if you have that as a public park and you put a black rope around it, I don't think you're going to stop people and dogs going through.
Sure.
It's like, so at least in a golf course there are rules, and people are like, well, I can't go in there. I can't go in there because that's out of play. Or you also have those areas near the dump or wherever where people don't go. But I think in public parks, people explore every little part of it. You've got dogs, you've got balls, you've got kids running around. And so any native plants, any orchids, anything of value would just get damaged.
So I think about, I grew up in the Blue Mountains, World Heritage listed National Park, and the Wallamai pine and all sorts of protected species and things tucked away in corners that people shouldn't even go to ensure their safety. So in a golf course, in a roundabout way, they're essentially mini protection zones.
Yes, exactly.
In the middle of cities.
Yes. So when you look at, it's amazing. It's mind-blowing, really.
It's really backward. Oh, everything you've said, we've been recording for 10 minutes. Everything you've said goes against everything everyone commentates socially about in newspapers and discussions over a coffee at the cafe.
Yes. So for example, we recently hosted an insect survey. So we had a guy who came in, and Alex Stolarski from Entails received a grant from Green Adelaide, our local protection board, natural resources board, and he did a survey with insect traps, and he did 6 sites in Adelaide. So it included a remnant scrub, some coastal sites, and Grange Golf Course and Glenelg Golf Course. He found in the first month that our golf course had more insect diversity than any other site, which included a remnant site.
What?
Yeah.
What,
so
the golf course
had such insect diversity. It was phenomenal, and it blew his mind. He said potentially this first month, because it was in September last year, where it would be drier in the remnant site, but because we have water, we might attract other insects. But he couldn't believe that at some of the sites he just found an enormous amount of insects that he just had no expectation of finding.
So an expert in the field of studying insects comes to a golf course with obviously a low expectation of what most people would expect.
That's right.
And probably has to double, triple and quadruple check his notes and records to make sure that what he's seeing is correct.
Yes, exactly.
That's a massive bonus.
It's amazing. I know. And it shows that people say, oh, well, golf courses spray all the time. There's like everything's dead, blah, blah, blah. It shows that, when we're spraying our insecticides, we're not spraying the rough. Like if we spray the fairway, we only spray the fairway because, otherwise these insects wouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's right. And that's
pretty amazing.
That shows I suppose, the professionalism of the industry in greenkeeping and how far we've come, because there's a lot of old stories. I heard them when I was an apprentice. We've all heard them. We've all heard the disastrous stories of where things have gone wrong, people have done the wrong thing. But we're now at an age, the best part of, for me, it's 20-something years, 25 years down from me being an apprentice on golf courses, where we're so much more environmentally aware. There's so many more environmental policies and management practices that are involved in maintaining a golf course, because, again, it's not just turf. And this is what I'm trying to explain to everyone,
that's right,
and golfers in particular, that when a golf course is maintained, the superintendent and the team, such as yourself being the biodiversity manager, aren't just maintaining grass. We're maintaining what is everything inside that boundary of the golf course.
That's right. Exactly.
And there's so many different types of components.
That's right, yeah. And I think because Tim Warren and I have been there for 4 years now, and over that 4 years we've been planting more local plant species, planting a bit more variety, planting more flowering plants. So I think that's also helping to attract more insects.
Yeah, wow.
And we, Adelaide University had a bat survey when we hosted an Anabat device, which is just a device that goes in the tree and monitors sound that humans can't hear. And they found 4 microbat species that were visiting the course during summer, and one of them doesn't come down to the Adelaide Plains very much. It's a little forest bat, so obviously more forested areas, but is coming down to our course to feed because of our insect diversity.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And I think people just, as I said, there's golf courses are the enemy when really it's the other way around.
It turns out already in this short period of this interview, it's already such a refuge. It's a really highly protected, highly conscious landscape of people working in it to protect so many parts. And
that's right.
We're talking universities, insect experts, biodiversity managers. This is really weird to be talking about a golf course.
That's right. Because I think it's something that people don't associate with golf courses. They don't associate that there is any kind of fauna diversity or plant diversity or anything like that. Because as you said, they just see it as a monoculture of just turf.
Yeah.
And just somewhere that rich people go to play golf.
Oh, just burns me when I hear that.
Yeah, but I think, as I was saying before, by its very nature of having this space of private land that you can protect and manage as you see fit, manage turf areas, but also manage your Indigenous plants that you're able to protect those species.
It's fascinating, and I suppose it's a little bit of a catch-22 as well, because, like you said, it is a private golf course. In this instance of Glenelg, we're talking.
Yes.
It is a private golf course that isn't open to thoroughfare traffic, through traffic, I should say.
Yes.
Is that, and I don't mean to put this across the bow of Glenelg and say that they should be doing something, but it could a golf course, so I won't put it into Glenelg's category, but could a golf course of a similar stature that's a private golf, could they possibly be open to, I mean, you've got universities coming to do studies.
Yes.
Is there a means potentially do you think, for golf clubs in the future to consider possibly having, small groups to come and experience some of these things in appropriate times and appropriate locations?
Yeah, so we've actually, Tim Warren and I have spoken about this as one of our wish list items, because we have a very long list of things we'd like to do.
Sure.
And it's huge. But we have thought of maybe like local gardening groups or local schools to bring them in.
Schools
and then
would be good.
So maybe if there's a tee-off time at the first, tee off at the first at 7 a.m, that maybe you could start at the back 9 or something.
Yeah. That's
there's a possibility to do that, but it's more so about how you'd work around golfing times and two tee offs and
there's a lot
sort of thing.
There's all those sorts of things, and they're the practicalities. But what I suppose the essence of what I'm saying is there a means to show the broader community and expose the goodness of what is being done on golf courses, rather than people just speculating what is horribly being done to maintain a golf course. So I mean, there's a lot of that's what we're trying to do through our social media account. Yep.
And that our social media account has actually managed to get us a lot of different connections in the community.
Wow.
Which has been quite interesting. So that's how we got in contact with the Office of Recreation, Sport and Racing, through a contact that we'd had through social media, and they have promoted our social media as well, because our feed isn't just about the sport.
Yep.
It's not just about golf. It actually helps to show the other things that are going on around the course. That's through social media. We got in contact with former Environment Minister David Spears, and so he came to a dinner that we had at the course, and then we started a relationship with him. He encouraged us to apply for a Green Adelaide grassroots grant. And so he wanted us to involve other courses, and that's how we came up with this habitat connectivity and plant preservation project with us, Kooyonga, Grange Golf Course and Royal Adelaide. Wow. So we got over $100,000, including GST, for this project. So it's a 3-year project where we'll swap plant material and then hopefully create habitat connectivity within our course and also to each other's courses in a way. So that includes bird boxes and work with the local Indigenous elders. So it's quite a wide-ranging project, which is unusual for a golf course.
That's amazing. And the fact that it's a collaborative approach with other golf clubs, other premier clubs around Adelaide. And
right, yeah.
I mean, things may expand in the future, who knows? But the fact that it's now gone beyond you guys working individually, and I don't know what the other clubs may or may not be doing, and you might know some of that, but now there's a collaborative approach for 4 clubs, and the Grange isn't the Grange 36 holes?
Yes, it is.
So that's a bigger piece of ground again.
Yes, that's right, exactly. So I think combined land is over 200 hectares.
That's a lot.
So it's a lot of land, and we've got a lot of plants going in over the next few years, plus the habitat and nest boxes that I mentioned as well. So and it also includes swapping plant material, and potentially one day maybe the orchids from Grange are being translocated to other parts of Adelaide and may eventually come to the other golf courses. So
that's just there's so many good things. I mean, you're in the middle of a capital city. This is some of these landscapes have long since been removed from the local area, and all that is left are the golf courses. And I suppose I'm reiterating that because I love
Yes.
golf and I love what
Yes.
you guys are doing and what this
Yes.
is all about.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I go back to, and in Sydney we have Centennial Park, which is a rather large outdoor venue, outdoor space for the public to enjoy. And I don't know what's down in Adelaide. You've got parks surrounding the city block, I think, from memory, is a big loop
Yes.
of parks
Parklands.
around, parklands.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why don't they have this? Let me ask you that. Do you know
Yeah,
why?
that's a good question.
Why does a public park and it's a big green ring or square around
Yeah.
Adelaide?
Yes. Yeah.
Does it have all of these things? Does it have these endangered orchids that no one can find anymore?
No,
Does it have pockets?
no, it doesn't.
So why not?
No, it doesn't.
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
I think because people just walk wherever they want in a public park. When as I was saying before, with a golf course, you can have no play zones. You have those areas where golfers don't go. So by the nature of golf, you're basically, and it depends how good a golfer you are, I guess, but most of the time golfers are on the fairway.
Or thereabouts.
or in the rough,
Or
you know.
thereabouts.
But you have areas outside of that where you can grow stuff where people don't go.
It's really interesting. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, in a public park, there'd be nowhere that people don't go. Like people would go over every square inch, every square centimetre of a public park. Your dogs running around. There's everything going on in that. So if you look at a golf course, it is like a refuge in a way because it's a protected area for birds and other fauna.
It's really the I suppose the characteristics of the site and the practicalities. It sounds really weird in favour of having a private golf course.
I know it's
like I go back to the catch-22 of you want to be able to have these local environments with this diversity of plant life and wildlife. But if we have it as a park for people to go through, then they, I suppose by design of being able to utilise the space, end up ruining exactly that. So you kind of have to have a pub, and that's what national parks do, right? Is that they're protected and cordoned off from all of that stuff with limited, I suppose, exposure to access and people. So is there also a component here, and I don't mean to talk down about what councils are able to do in maintaining spaces, but is this the bill is almost, apart from the grants, a lot of the money into maintaining these spaces is funded by the golf club.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
So the golf club, this is going to sound weird. So the golf club that people say normally doesn't look after land and damages the land and the soil and the water and so on, which is just a general term. And I am painting a broad brush over most people and being stereotypical right now, but that's what we often hear. So that's what's going on. Yet they're the ones. The private golf club are the ones equally that are actually doing the opposite and paying to continuously improve these off the turf areas, out of play areas for biodiversity, for an increase in fauna and flora.
Yes.
And does that help because the clubs are paying?
Yeah, well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But I don't think it does with some people, mainly because we haven't really got the message out there, I think, and they don't really understand what's going on behind the gates.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing actually that I found quite surprising, in Adelaide, the local councils did a project called Resilient Adelaide where they did heat mapping during a heat wave. I think they did 3 days of heat mapping across Adelaide. And when you look at the map of our area, you can see the Adelaide Airport. Obviously, it's quite a big piece of land. But when you see the colours about what areas are cool and what areas are hot, the golf courses were the cooler parts of the suburbs during the hot weather.
Funny that.
So we are also helping to cool the local environment through our tree canopy and also, funnily enough, through our turf. But it's quite amazing. People don't really think about that. They just they just see the turf. They don't see the benefit of the tree canopy. In cooling the local environment.
Do we have I'd say, look, it's probably not a question to ask. Do we have a problem? We do have a problem with the way that we promote this in the industry to the broader community.
Yes.
I suppose, what is Glenelg able to do? I suppose, are these grants and is this awareness getting out there to Adelaide, to the
Yes.
local areas of what you guys are all up to as a collective?
Yes, well, it is a difficult message to get out there, I think. And as I said, I think our social media does help in some ways, but that only goes so far. So it is more about trying to get more publicity for what's going on. And we have been trying a couple of times. A friend at the Advertiser said that maybe we should do a story, but that still hasn't got through. So I think maybe in the general media to try and get into there would help a bit. But we've recently made connection with our local council. So our local council, City of West Torrens, are now hearing about what we're doing. And one of their staff came over the other day to take photographs of our birds. So we're gradually getting the message out there. And I've been booked by the council to do some bird watching with a local school. So, yes, it's incremental, but we're gradually getting there.
It's a slow wheel to turn because it's been stuck solid for so long.
Yes, that's right, exactly.
It's rusted on.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And golf courses do have such a bad name.
It rusted on with all those chemicals and things that we spray.
Exactly. Killing all those bugs and things. Yeah. Because I still have people saying to me today, like, why on earth would you work at a golf course? So
in your industry then, because you're not from golf, so how does it come across with your peers and other people in your industry, being the vegetation type of circles, and I don't know what you call that industry, but how has that been perceived? You just said then that it's been hard. Is that also pushing boundaries throughout your field?
Yes, it is. So I'm a garden designer by trade, and I have a lot of friends in horticulture and also like in environmental projects. I have been trying to push that barrow a lot. And I think I'm gradually getting the message out amongst my closer friends, but it's not easy because of the bad image of golf, unfortunately. But I do have a lot of friends that are spreading the word, which is helping a lot.
That does help, yeah, absolutely.
It has been quite hard. I think people are sort of on my social media posts and like so often on my like personal Facebook and whatever, people just say to me, I just can't believe what's going on at your course. Like, it's so great.
It's mesmerising almost. I see some of the photos and you've got there that it's a Glenelg Golf Club, and like I said, some of the beautiful birds and the insects and even the plant life and some of the location shots, you're just like, that could be anywhere except a golf course.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Honestly, and
that's right.
I wonder, and I go back to you're employed by Glenelg, and it's the club's doing this because they see a benefit. Ultimately, I imagine the club's doing this because they see a benefit to them. They see a benefit to the course. They see a benefit to the local environment. Is that part of doing this in the first place?
Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, Tim Warren brought me on as the vegetation officer. So I started off as a vegetation officer, and there hadn't been one for 10 years. So there was a massive amount of work, and a lot of stuff had been sprayed out, unfortunately, a lot of the native plants. So there was quite a big curve, kind of a lot of work to do to undo what had been done. And then we now have Ben Rolton, who comes from Royal Sydney, and we have an apprentice, Harry Morby. So we've got 2 people on the veg team now doing that work.
Wow.
And then I'm sort of doing the more strategic stuff, I guess, in a way, and the more social media and more of the promotional work. So it does help to have 3 of us involved rather than just one. But
3 people. I know golf courses that have 3 people. No, golf courses had 2 people maintaining the whole 18 holes. So, and does that show us a level of commitment from the club, a level of intensity in just how much effort is being put into this drive to caring for these areas? Yeah, that's right.
So Ben and Harry are very good in helping out with the greenkeeping. Like sometimes in the morning they might do bunkers, on the weekends they roll greens or whatever they need to do. But the majority of the work during the week is the spraying and the snipping and the managing of the vegetation, the planting and all of that. And I think for Tim Warren, he really sees the opportunity of him being the superintendent as his opportunity to drive the direction and for him to show that golf courses can give back to the local community by doing something positive with the large parcel of land that we have. And we're lucky that we do have a community management that does see value in what we're doing, which really does help. They have backed us in with our naturalised roughs that we've started, naturalised carries and naturalised roughs. That has been a bit controversial, but when you have a naturalised rough, you can have more diversity of plant species, but then you also have less chemical inputs, less resource inputs. So it really is a win-win, and it helps to make the course more environmentally sustainable, but also more economically sustainable into the future. So there's been this. Yeah, go on.
No. I was just going to say that's an interesting point, naturalised. I can imagine that would be somewhat contentious for golfers. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, there might be some of the carries from tee to fairway, I imagine, or some of the further areas of the rough further away from the fairway. But is that essentially letting the rough sort of maintain itself in a sense?
In a sense, yeah, that's right. So we're planting it with native vegetation, like native ground covers.
Right.
And just some sort of smaller plant species. So just stuff that's a bit more wispy, smaller grasses and that. So if your bowl does go in there, it's easier to find. Kate Torgerson from Environmental Golf Solutions came to the course a number of years ago, and that was sort of one thing we discussed with her very early on, and we finally got to the point years later where we can start doing it.
Yeah, righto.
So when you put in ground covers, the bowls land on top of the ground covers, so they're a bit easier to find. But, you don't want anything too dense within those areas, but at least you don't have to maintain those as much.
Yeah, like you said, less inputs, less concern for everything and anything. And those inputs, you can put a dollar sign on them in the end as well. So from a club perspective, it's environmentally, sustainably, there's less inputs, but there's a dollar value in saving as well.
Yes, exactly. So, and then you can also put those greenkeepers who normally be maintaining the carry or the rough, you can move them to other things.
Absolutely.
They can do put more work into the bunkers or whatever needs to be done. So it does free up resources as well.
So you might save half a person, for example, or labour for half a person during the week or a couple of days or something that Tim can look at and assess and go, right, we've done this here, so we can use that time now, like you said, this has got away from us a little bit more, and we've, whatever areas they might be identified as. And it's interesting because we talk about the out-of-play areas. Now we're getting a little bit closer to the play areas a little. And I know golfers reasonably well. Most people who have been in the industry know the golfers that will struggle with some of these changes. And these are changes from what the course was maybe 15 years ago. So it's a direction from the club. It's I imagine it's a board level first, and in you guys are key parts of making it happen and getting that conversion and driving that delivering the ultimate product. But some people, people don't like change. We love habits.
Exactly.
Humans love habits. So when things change, it is difficult to rationalise why. But the why has a lot of natural positives to the area. It's really changing the way Glenelg sits within the local environment, isn't it, on the whole?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So this is part of our course enhancement works with Neil Crafter, assisted by Ryan van der Veen. And that was part of the intention to return Glenelg to its original look. So we're going back to, because it's a sandy course. So Neil has had that in mind to return it to its original look, I guess.
And there's a real that's that natural feel. There's character to that. It's really building in a lot of character of what Adelaide has to offer. And when we're on the sandy court, like we're on pure sand, it lends itself to that natural Juney look, and it really looks great. It's fantastic. But you're biased, and you're a bias. I don't mean to say it, but I keep thinking in the back of my head, there's people going, but Monina's the token veg person that's working on a golf course. She's just the figurehead to just tick a box. But
that's right.
There's a lot of years of work in this. There's a lot of a lot of things moving forward. And you mentioned the course enhancement works, and there's a period of time for that to have moved through for the club over coming years, I imagine. You guys are smashing out the work on the whole, but included in the bigger stuff like there's greens being rebuilt and all that sort of. And I'm sure I'll get Tim on here for Keeper of the Greens at another time, and we'll talk about that side of it. But there is part of this as being the introduction of still some more out of play areas that are being converted. Is there as part of this? Is there?
The ones we've done so far, there haven't been, but I'm hoping to have more of those. More of those areas where I can grow my special stuff.
Well, there you go. But it's creating the character, really setting the scene for the golf course, and that then converts to. It's not just let's just go and put mulch over there and leave it be and look after itself. It's creating an environment. So it's like the golf course is being. Is sitting in situ of what used to be there is essentially is that the goal?
Yes, that is the goal. Yeah, to try and return it to that sort of sandy coastal links feel, really, which is it's very exciting for some of us. But as you said, some people don't like change.
Yeah, is it an education though? I mean, over time, partly. If someone. If someone gives you a new car that's not the one you've had the whole time that you love to sit in the driver's seat of and drive, and you get a new one, you go, oh, look, it's nice, but it just doesn't mould to my shape when I drop in the seat like I've done for the last 20 years, But over time, do you get used to it? Do you? And I suppose I might be speaking on behalf of Glenelg in a way, but I think Glenelg's doing this. This is bigger than Glenelg. Glenelg as a golf club are doing something, are they not, that's bigger than them? I mean, that's a tall order for a club to say, look, stick our hands up, guys. We're gonna be the ones to push we're gonna spend more of our own money to do something that's for the greater good of the local environment. Exactly. It's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and I think it's sort of the direction that started 4 years ago when I started working there with Tim, that we both, agreed on the sustainability part of it and the giving back part of it. And, we've done a lot in the last 4 years, and there's probably a lot more we can do. As I said, we've got a long wish list, a lot of crazy ideas when we're spitballing. But, like you said, it's really great that we can do that, really, and we have a committee of management that sees value in it.
Yeah.
I think otherwise, it would be a struggle to have a committee that didn't trust us, I guess, or back us in.
For sure, and you would forever be trying to prove yourself rather than showcasing what you're able to do. Looking over your shoulder, going, "Geez, I hope they're still trusting and looking for this." They've backed you in. It's also what the club wants. It's not just backing you guys for your expertise. It's saying that we want to do this. We want to stand out. We want to make sure and showcase what can actually be done to build a sustainably maintained golf course as much as physically possible. We're going to push it as far as we can down that road to see how sustainable we can become and what we can give back to the local environment. And in doing so, I suppose you're now seeing the fruits of some of your work for 4 years where you've got, go back to university studies, insect experts being blown away by a golf course.
Yes, exactly.
I love
which you
to
just
say
wouldn't really think about.
I love to say it.
Well, always like, the spraying that goes on at golf courses and what would even live there anymore. I think we're proving that lots of stuff lives there.
Absolutely.
And, we have a lady that does quarterly bird surveys, Penny Payton, who's a local ecologist, and I said to her, gosh, it's great to have this quarterly data for 10 years. And she said, what do you mean 10 years? I've been doing this 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
30 years?
Quarterly surveys for 30 years, which is, we haven't looked at the data yet, but it'd be fantastic to have a look at that and see what's happened over the last. That
will be amazing.
Yeah, because we've had things like superb blue fairy wrens come through the course. Like they haven't been around for 10 years or so, and that we recently saw them.
I don't pretend to know. I'm assuming it's a bird, or is it a butterfly?
It's a red.
It's a sorry.
It's a red. Yeah, it's a bird, fairy wren. Those blue. Wrens,
red. Yeah.
Blue wrens.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and they're not really down on the plains very much. They're more of a forest sort of bushland bird, but to see them at the course was quite exciting. And yeah, we have lots of smaller bird species that are losing habitat in the local environment. So it's great to know that they have somewhere they can go.
And there's a little bit of, I suppose, golfers head down, swinging a club, chasing your ball around, getting into the hole,
right.
least amount of shots, pencil on the scorecard. How long before we get back and have a beer, guys? They're not going to see.
That's right.
They're not looking to see the wildlife, and that's why I go back to the idea of, I'm curious to hear in the future what you guys are able to do there in getting some of the community to be able to see and understand and experience what is going on behind the fence. I know, like I said, I go back to, I know it's difficult because it's a private club, but I look forward to hearing what you may or may not be able to do there, because that to me seems like, and just doing this now, you and I talking about it is enough to, it's a great be able to talk about what's behind the fences there. We can't see it, and I'll do some posting through my social, so anyone listening, check out the Golfing Greenkeeper on my Instagram and stuff, and we'll tell them, your ones as well when we get to the end of this too, Monina, so that we can follow Glenelg and you and what's going on, so they can see what's happening, because it's, I think this is really showing, and I go back to, it's really showcasing what's possible, and there is a lot of effort in it, but even to a lesser extent. A club may not be able to afford 3 full-time staff, but they might be able to have some volunteers that are passionate. And I've heard that in so many clubs. They've got passionate volunteers that want to do more to help the club and the golf course, and they might be able to implement some things. Just one is enough to change and move forward.
Even if you just look at what your Indigenous plant species are and try and create a small garden area with your Indigenous plant species, maybe put in a bird box, put in a bee hotel, something like that. Everyone can do something, even if it's just small. And we started from nothing, but we're just building each year on our previous year's success. So who knows where we're going to be in 10 years from now?
Well, that's
still going.
That's exactly right.
Everyone can start off, and even if you start off small with just some volunteers planting some local plants, at least everyone can do something. And I think we all need to think about, firstly, what we can contribute to the local environment, but also about providing pollen and nectar sources for our local local insect species, because insects attract more birds, attract more microbats, and you sort of end up with this whole, web of life.
And that's the whole cycle, isn't it? That's the whole. That's the whole living habitat.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is what a golf course is. It's a living space.
Yes, exactly. And it changes on a day-to-day basis with what's there, what insects are there, what birds come in to catch those insects, all that sort of thing. And we even have migratory birds come in sometimes. I had an interview recently with Golf Australia, and I was talking about these redneck stints that come all the way from Siberia to the Coorong here in South Australia.
Really?
The smallest bird, and they fly that whole distance, which must be a huge
Siberia
to the Coorong. So the Coorong's quite far south of where we are. That's the mouth of the Murray.
Wow.
Basically. And they do this twice a year from the Coorong to Siberia and Siberia back to the Coorong. And a few times we've seen them sitting in our course. So I don't know whether they're just having a rest on the way, because it's a long way to go.
It's a short rest. It's a short rest. They've either gone all this way and couldn't make it, or they go, Jesus, we've got a long way to go. Let's have a quick nap here, guys.
Exactly. So you sort of think that, because of our watercourses, it provides a spot where they can just rest for a while before their next leg of the journey. So
that's Yeah. They could have picked a better destination, surely, than go to Siberia. I mean,
it's a long way to go. That's right. But we have a member at the course who used to be a duck shooter in a former life, and he's very good at his identification of birds. So if he saw something, I know he saw it.
Yeah, right. Good. Yeah. He's got it. I'd say an eagle eye, but he'd be spot on with it.
Right. He was right. And then Penny Payton was saying to me, duck shooters are very good at identifying flying birds.
Okay, that makes sense.
But he's very good. He'll come up to me and tell me what he's seen, because a lot of times, I might miss it because I'm busy doing something.
Yep.
And he'll tell me I've seen this, this, and this, and this, and I'll go out and sure enough, there it is. So
that's really interesting.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. The diversity that you find is just phenomenal, and I just didn't think that that a golf course would have that.
Yeah. So I suppose your background before you start, how much has this changed your thought process on golf? Do you now, you're an advocate obviously for what golf courses are able to do by the sounds of it.
Exactly. It's quite a funny story, really, isn't it? Because I've never really had anything to do with golf. Like, my parents went into golf. I didn't have any grandparents who were into golf. Like, I'm a child of migrant parents who, didn't even think about golf.
So you should hate golf like those other people where they say that golf courses destroy the landscape. You're really coming in from the other angle.
That's right. I was working on, I used to work for the National Environment Protection Council writing environmental legislation. I've worked for our local council doing like bird box strategies and like green living subsidies and revegetation work for the local council. And when Tim rang me, I was like, well, I'm in this whole revegetation work thing, like doing environmental stuff. Like, why would I go to a golf course? And like you said, I'm like one of the biggest advocates now for the importance of golf courses and the contribution they can make to urban biodiversity. And, sometimes you don't even have to do anything. The birds are just going to come anyway. But I guess if you can provide that extra habitat, like food sources and nectar sources, then you can increase the diversity of everything. Yeah. Of course. So.
Yeah. And did it change? Did it take long for you to see and peel back the layers of turf, metaphorically, to see what was in a landscape of a golf course?
Not really. Yeah, I think, I guess because, Tim Warren being that we've been friends for a number of years, was very environmental. He's always been into native plants, and I was sort of trying to work out how those two align. The more I spoke with him, the more I sort of understood where things were going. And I think it did take us like about 12 months or so to really kind of work out how we were going to do everything and where we we're going to go. And now, we're just off and running now. But I think I was a bit hesitant to join the course, but after a month I just absolutely loved it. And I saw some potential, but I think the more we go on, I just see more and more potential. And speaking to someone like Kate Torgerson, I think she really helped me kind of work out where to go.
Yep.
She kind of helped steer us in the right direction.
And Kate's got quite a bit of experience on a number of courses, certainly in Melbourne, I believe.
Yes, she has, and she's just fantastic. We get along like a house on fire, obviously, because we've got the same passions.
Yep.
But, now my environmental passion does align with golf, not playing golf, but golf courses.
It seems so. I'm just thinking of the storylines, the backgrounds of where you come into golf, what people assume. People in your field, in the broader hort industry, are looking and questioning, such a move for you.
Yes,
your peers are probably sitting there going, geez, that's a step sideways, backwards, and out the back door, Monina. What are you doing there?
That's exactly right. Yeah, they were all like, well, I'm not sure what you're going to do there at the golf course. But you're going to be bored. There's going to be nothing.
Wow.
But, it has been a fantastic journey, and I do, I'm very appreciative of Tim getting me on, because it really, it's fantastic.
Well, look,
and
it's no. I was just going to say, actually, I'll let you finish.
No, I have to say it's just fantastic to be at the golf course, and I think being in the turf industry, everyone is I guess it's going to sound like a pun, but just meeting more people in the more people I meet in the turf industry, the more I find how down to earth everybody is, and it's a great industry to be involved in. Even as only 1.4% of the industry is female.
Yes.
The ASMA is working. The
Very
ASMA is
low.
working on that. Yeah, very low. But I always feel like I'm treated like an equal, and never feel inferior to anyone. And I feel like everyone's just welcomed me, particularly at the last turf grass conference. Everyone was just very welcoming, very friendly. That's great to talk to. So it's a really great industry. Yeah.
Very, very positive things to hear coming from a female and coming from a person from horticulture that's got nothing to do with turf. So you're working in the golf. You couldn't be more removed, according to the statistics.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
So look, let's just open that little can there of the conference, because I touched on it earlier. Both yourself and Tim Warren were the recipients of the Claude Crockford Environmental Sustainability Award in golf, which is, I think, the most coveted award our industry has to offer.
Yes,
it's I think held in the highest of esteem in the industry, and probably the biggest gong anyone could get, because it means so much. And from the background of Claude Crockford obviously being the Superintendent of Royal Melbourne for eons, and we know how Royal Melbourne sits in the landscape there and what it does for the local environment. So that was a massive win at this year's conference just a few months ago. How did that make both? I suppose you could speak for yourself, but I imagine you'll be able to say how you both felt from that win. And what did that mean to get your names read out for that award this year? Yes,
so it was quite overwhelming, actually. Like there was a big build up in terms of the applying for it, and then the actual. So it was like, I really hope we can get this. But also to be only the second woman to be the winner, and the first South Australian woman to win.
There you go.
Is quite huge in
itself. Well done.
Yeah, but it's been such a great honour and privilege, really, to get the award after only 4 years. Like being such a newbie to the industry, really, it's quite amazing to have achieved such success already. And clearly wouldn't have done it without Tim Warren getting me into the industry in the first place. But I think it just shows that it confirms that we're on the right track, and that what we're doing is really starting to set a benchmark for golf courses around Australia, and even around the world. When the GEO Foundation talks to us about the things that we're doing, and it's great to be at the forefront of environmental sustainability of golf courses.
Absolutely. Really. You're certainly flying the Australian flag in a sense on a number of levels. And the GEO Foundation, that's Golf Environment Organisation, I think, or something like that.
Sustainable Golf.
Yes, Sustainable Golf. And it's a global organisation. Yes. And I think there's a couple of golf courses in Australia that might be working or doing some bits and pieces with them. But you guys are obviously flying the flag there. And with the Claude Crockford, that was a huge gong. And I got to be honest, it was probably no surprise. I'd been reporting on my Walking the Fairways, all the things that have been going on. You and I had spoken a little bit, like I said, in the past 12 to 18 months about what's been going on at Glenelg. It's really, I suppose, it's such an obvious change to what most people think, as we've discussed at length just now, but. It was, like I said, for me, seeing who won the awards, get down to court. Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, it was Monina and Tim. I mean, that's sitting from the outside and following what's been going on has been a lot of work, and culminating in that award is pretty incredible. It's quite amazing, and congratulations to you guys for doing everything that you've done to take that award home. I can't imagine how proud you must feel.
Yes. Well, very proud of it. And the former Environment Minister, David Spears, wrote a letter of recommendation, which probably helped as well. Yeah, and his advisor said that he will always support us in whatever we do, because he believes in what we're doing and sees the value of what we're doing in terms of urban biodiversity. So
there you go.
Yeah, we didn't even have to try hard to get that letter of recommendation. So, it shows that there are people, we are being recognised, I guess.
And the work is speaking for itself, albeit softly, it's getting louder. The voice is getting louder, but we need to. And I part of this podcast and talking to other people in the greenkeeping industry and a lot of golfers I know that listen to the podcast, I think it's most important that they understand what is going on golf courses, what can be done on golf courses, and the fact that this level of environmental stewardship is able to be achieved. I mean,
yes, exactly.
There's a lot of people that I know in the past, and I've worked at clubs, and I know plenty of board members and committee members that would just shake their heads and just go, "That's not going to work. Why waste your time? It's our money. You're going to waste our money on things that we don't have anything to do with." I mean, like I said, the commitment from Glenelg as a club, the commitment from the board, the executive team to back what is going on, to back the direction, to choose that direction for the club in the first place and say, this is where we want to go as a golf club, and we're prepared to put our money where our mouth is to make it happen. I think this stuff needs to be shouted from the rooftops because it really is important to showcase what's able to be done. And we are always talking about, and like I said, people bad-mouthing golf and the way golf courses are kept. Well, this is completely against all of that and so much further forward down the sustainability track that people probably can't realise and appreciate. So
exactly.
I think,
I think, like you were saying, I think people don't firstly don't see the potential, but also don't see how they can achieve that in like a smaller golf course or whatever. But small steps, really.
Absolutely.
You just never know where it's going to take you once you start doing a few things. But I think this borrows from this statement borrows from Royal Sydney's material, course communication material for their course enhancement, where they say that creating a more economically sustainable and environmentally sustainable club is a gift to your future members.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's part of it, because costs are we've already seen how much costs are going up for everything.
Yep.
For machines, for fuel, it's just, and it's going to probably keep rising.
Oh, look, it will, and what it does for the local area, what it does for I don't want to. I suppose I don't want to speak out of school about Royal Sydney because I don't know a lot of it, even though I've had Harley Cruz on here to talk a little bit about it before. It frustrates me when I hear people that aren't interested in listening, that aren't interested. They're just sort of following the trends or past thoughts and interests of saying, well, if there's trees there, the trees need to stay because that's what's improving the area. When if you look deeper into it and deeper into what was there before, you'd realise that the goals of is recreating what was there in the past, not just hammering trees down and just going, well, if it's a tree, it's great, because it's not often the case. There's lots of other things that come with those trees, and they're not always the right fauna. They're not always the right plants. They bring in other predators and things that might do more damage.
Yeah, well, we have the issue where some of the pine species that have been planted at our course are declared weeds. So
there you go, classic, right? Yeah,
exactly. So as part of our course enhancement, some of them, not all of them, but some of them are being removed, but they're being replaced on a 5-to-1 basis. Yep. So if we take a tree, we plant, and it seems to be like we're doing even more than that, but we're planting 5 more environmentally sustainable species and 5 like local indigenous species. So it's like we're replacing that one with 5 better species.
and it's what's from that local region.
Exactly, and so it's going to grow better in the soil. Yep. It's going to attract more and provide habitat for more local fauna. So, and I guess, there is that you're losing like a massive tree and then you're putting in a smaller tree. So you've lost time. So you do have a lot of time to wait for that tree to get bigger. But eventually, when you're looking 15 years down the track, it's going to make a huge difference.
And this is a long-term plan. This is about getting it right.
That's right, exactly.
You're not going to flick the switch. It's been in, for example, that particular tree, or like you said, it's a pine tree that's considered a weed. It might have taken 25 years to become that big a weed. But that's right. But just because it's a tree doesn't mean it's the right thing. Doesn't mean
that's right. Exactly.
It's appropriate for that landscape or that local area to be in. So you have an opportunity. And like I go back to who's funding it as the golf club, you have an opportunity, and the club's paying for it out of their own, out of their own coffers.
Well, that's right. Which part of our course enhancement as well. So
that's right.
It's something that
I want to jump, Monina, to a favourite topic of mine, and you touched on.
I know where you're going now.
Hang on, we've talked about your accolades and how good you guys are going. Now let's just bring things back a little bit. You touched on pollinators and how important they are, and we hear in the news. We do hear a lot about bees. We hear about sometimes a struggle, and there's you and I were chatting about. What was that attacks the bees?
The varroa mite.
The mite.
The varroa mite, yes.
There's lots of concern from time to time, and that's part of having a good, diverse flora landscape and having protected areas. We can really concentrate and having a lot of population there to continue to grow and foster that growth and foster those local environments and populations. Let's talk about honey.
Yes, your favourite topic.
Let's talk about honey. I know this is a golf podcast and a green-keeping podcast, but you posted a while ago which got my attention about honey harvesting on the golf course at Glenelg, and I was like, what does that – is that – you've got honey this is really cool because I love my honey and I've had it from all different corners of the country, and I love all the different flavours from the different plants that it comes from where the bees have been pollinating. And Glenelg's honey essentially has its own flavour. So you've got bee boxes, hives. How does it work? How have you done it there in the past?
Yeah, so I was having a chat with one of our members about bees because he's a beekeeper, and he bought us a beehive and donated the hive and a swarm to us.
Wow.
And he's sort of been mentoring me and helping me learn a bit more about beekeeping. And then, it's quite handy, I've realised, to have a beekeeper on site because sometimes you end up with bees in irrigation boxes or swarms in trees, so they can send me out to rescue them. And obviously winter, honey production slows down, but we've harvested some of the honey which we've sold and also sent some to you for tasting.
Yes, for tasting. I thank you greatly, and I've got to say I was absolutely mesmerised by the honey. It was.
Yeah, so go on.
I was going to ask you. So, okay, I know a lot of the honeys that we get here, Western Sydney, out in the bush on the way to a property that I used to have out at Caraway in the central western New South Wales, and I go past and there's red box flavoured honey and yellow box and red gum and all sorts of different eucalyptus type based honeys. And you, at Glenelg, what types of flora are the bees going through? What are they pollinating through between? Are we talking trees or are they shrubs, or it's a flavoured honey that was so really nice and I really enjoyed it, but I found it quite sweet and floral-like.
So sweet.
Yeah.
It was like super sweet. And I'm not sure, like it's hard to know exactly where they're going, but I know that near the hive there were some melaleucas in flower.
Okay.
So I'm not sure whether they were harvesting from there, but we have some flow frames so you can harvest their honey and taste different samples. So I know that when I sent them to you, there were a couple of samples that were of different colour and different viscosity.
They were.
And,
it was
fantastic.
Flavours. I sat down at the table. I had them all laid out. There's little containers laid out in front of me, and I had my pen and paper ready for my tasting notes, and I had a little spoon in each one of them. And you got me a few of the different. So this was from one hive essentially, but they're the different frames internally.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
And
so from the flow hive, you can harvest from the different frames and then taste the different flavours of the seasons, which is quite interesting.
There you go. So I found there were some honey from one frame was thicker than the honey from another frame.
Yes.
It was lighter in colour differences. Then they had different tasters, slightly different variances in the taste. And I'm sitting there going, again, I've got to go back to it and say, this is from a golf course.
Yes,
I got to keep grounding it. I got to keep grounding myself because where I'm tasting honey from a golf course.
Yeah,
I mean, this is really cool.
Yeah, so Royal Adelaide did have some hives as well, but Royal Adelaide has that train line going through there, so
Yes.
they obviously can't secure the whole course. And people were coming in and stealing the hives, unfortunately.
you're
So
kidding.
they couldn't
Okay.
continue with it. So we're lucky where ours are. They haven't been stolen yet. So I harvest the honey. We've sold the honey in the front office. Some of the honey's been used in the kitchen. And sometimes when you're harvesting honey, there's a bit of waste, like honey that gets dirty or something like that. So I use that honey to make soaps, and we gave them away as promotional. Oh, I did give you some.
You sent me a couple of soaps. They were fantastic too. It's just all these little again, I go back to this is from a golf course. I've got to keep dropping that line in because we could easily be talking about a shop of of honey. I've been up in the Blue Mountains at home at Lura Gourmet is a cafe, and they have all the different honeys from the mountains and different. They've got the honeycomb and different creamed honeys and all sorts of stuff that they've got. And it's a golf course. We're talking about Glenelg.
Yes. So it is funny though, because when we had that discussion about varroa mites, we did speak about European honeybees, and there are environmentalists who are anti the honeybee in that the European honeybee steals food sources from the native bees.
Right.
And I guess we're lucky because we have such a variety of flowers that we can have both on the course. Yep. So because we do the
native bees are a little different, aren't they, in the way that they
That's right.
They work.
Yes, so we don't have any native bees in South Australia that make honey.
Okay.
So the native bees here are all solitary. Okay. And we, as part of our habitat connectivity grant, we're setting up some bee hotels made by local men shares. But the insect guide did find quite a bit of, I think he's found 5 different local bee species living at the course, which was good. Yeah, but yes, going back to our hives, the 2 hives so far, and Tim has got his eye on other areas of the course that we could possibly put them in. So
that's sensational.
You may have more. You may have more honey coming your way.
If you have any new that you need taste tested, I'm more than willing. I'm more than willing. I love it.
Doing a honey podcast.
Well, this could quite easily be a food podcast because I wanted to bring on. There was something that you posted and I reshared. There was a degustation because the honey we'll mention that the kitchen has used before in meals for the restaurant in the past.
Yes.
Then recently there was this degustation dinner with a local chef from Adelaide.
Andrew Felke, a native food chef.
There you go. So native food chef from the region, and this is and the plants that we used were all native plants. They were all found on
the course.
On the golf course. I mean, again.
Yes. So Andrew Felke, I know we are doing some crazy things, but our Andrew Felke is a member with us, and he used to have a restaurant. He set up the Red Ochre restaurant here in Adelaide. That was one of the first native foods restaurants, and he set up many years ago. So that's obviously his great passion, and he makes he has a business called Creative Native Foods, and he sells to Qantas and the Garn, and sells jams and all sorts of things. Yeah,
jam.
Really
don't get me. Do you make jam as well? Oh my God! Can you send me some jam? Do I need to put an order in?
That's right.
Have you got an order form?
That's right. That's going to be my side hustle. Well, Andrew came to us and he said, look, I've got this great idea. Why don't we have what would be, we think, maybe one of the first times in the world to have a degustation meal with food harvested from the golf course. So we had samphire, which is like a plant that grows in sort of salty, saline sort of areas and damp, boggy areas. So that obviously tastes very salty. So sometimes people put samphire with lamb and stuff like that. So I think they might have served that. I'm a vegetarian, but I think they might have served that with the beef or something. But they had a kangaroo tail too. So it was very, very native. We harvested a lot of berries from the course and flowers from the course. We even harvested from one of our lemongrasses, and he made a lemongrass panna cotta.
Wow.
So a native lemongrass. So it was was a really great evening. And that was the dinner that we invited the Minister, David Spears, to. And he gave this awesome talk on golf courses and urban biodiversity. There were some members, though, that didn't want to come because it freaked them out a bit to be eating food that may have been sprayed.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, because we don't do that from the supermarkets, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the thing.
I mean,
we're not spraying in we're not spraying in those out of play areas.
No,
so I'm not sure.
We won't talk about the preservation treatment of all of our things that go through supermarkets or anything, will we?
Exactly. And that's sort of the thing. It's quite interesting to think that they look around the course and they see plants and they think, well, I can't eat that because it's full of spray. And you're thinking, well, it's not actually. And as one of my colleagues said, because I did an interview for ABC local radio, and one of my colleagues heard the interview and he said, if it had been sprayed, wouldn't it be dead? Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. And look, hey, I suppose at the end of talking and thinking about a lot of this stuff as we go along, it's education, right?
Yes, that's right.
This is exactly. There are going to be a lot of people that don't understand what goes on behind the fences of golf courses. So it's education. Right. So when someone says, I don't want to eat off that menu because I'm worried that some of it's going to be, dangerous, or I'm going to be unhealthy afterwards, it's education. They don't know. Lots of times in life we have preconceived notions, and we walk into something with a notion in our minds that we go, well, this is what's going to happen when I go there. And
that's right.
You learn that it's not. And this is just it doesn't mean that they're wrong or they're silly or whatever. It's up to, I suppose, it's up to us to show them that it's not what they think it is. And I know that we talked about earlier, sometimes it's going to be a very hard wheel to turn and barrow to push, but that's the way it is. There is this notion that golf is not good for the environment. Yes. So the more that we talk about this, the more that it becomes mainstream, the more the golfers that are listening hear this story and hear this podcast and talk about it with the people that they play golf with, and they question what their golf course can do to improve the biodiversity and potentially one day have food being served at the restaurant. God forbid. Yes, what a crazy concept. But hey, it can be done.
It can be done. We've proved it. Yeah.
You're selling honey from the front office. I mean, this is unbelievable stuff to the average person who doesn't know how golf courses function, doesn't know what they give back and what they can give back to the local environment, the local community, and getting people on board to understand. And I think that's the other part. At the core of all of this, Monina, is all the hard work that you, Tim, the team, and the club at Glenelg are doing. It's getting it out there, getting the message out there, which seems to be the most difficult, hardest thing to do. But the more we talk about it, the more we're doing that. Exactly.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And believe you me, I'm talking about it as much as I can to everyone I know.
Absolutely. And I am too. And I hope people listening are going to be doing that just the same, because I think it's so important. And I think incredibly important that we can find better ways to do stuff and find other ways to get more out of the land of the golf course, because there's a lot of, as you guys have identified, there's a lot of out of play areas that don't need to be maintained as a monoculture is just cut rough or whatever. Just that's over there. We just run over that with a mower. You could actually transform that area to be a little local environment, a pocket of preservation, if you like, and conservation. Right. And I think the more that golf clubs can see that it can be done, and they can talk to people like yourself or Glenelg and see how to go about it, where to start, how to make that first step, I think they're all amazingly positive things.
Thanks.
So I hope that we can do that in the future as time goes on. As we share knowledge.
Well, that's right. And as I said, we have a long wish list of all the things we'd like to do, but it takes time, and you can only do so much, you can only manage so much at any time. So
it does.
We can't do all of our crazy ideas at once. But.
You have to take those steps to get there along the way. And if it means stopping and having some honey along the way, then we'll do that too.
That's right. It gives you extra energy. So when Tim gave his acceptance speech for the Lord Crockford before I did, and he said, "If you think my ideas are crazy, you should hear Monina's." and yes, I can go crazier than Tim, but I think we're both creative thinkers, and when we put our heads together, we come up with all sorts of ideas. But that's what actually gets results. And that's what actually helps you push the envelope. It
does, and I think sometimes craziness and the more outlandish, the craziest ideas can breed greatness. I think that's right. That's the other thing. That's creativity. That's thinking so far outside the norm, and is it achievable? And sometimes that creates something that's great and amazing. And I think you have to be thinking like that to push those boundaries and do things that haven't been done before.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe there are some things we've done that haven't worked, but at least we gave it a go, and we can do it another way the next time.
Absolutely.
I think everyone just needs to go out and just try, and even if every club just plants a small garden of Indigenous plants, I think we'll just gradually make a big difference.
Oh, for sure. I couldn't agree with you more, Monina.
Yeah.
Monina, look, I want you to tell us, where can we, as listeners, people interested that aren't just golfers, hopefully this is being shared to other people that aren't golfers, that are interested in the environment, that are interested in plant life and wildlife. Where can we go? Where do we find some of the your accounts, the images and things that you're sharing with us socially?
All right. Thank you. So Instagram, we've got an Instagram account, which is Glenelg GC _maintenance. So it's the Glenelg Golf Course team. So we load there a couple of times a week, I'd say. But
Fantastic.
I always try and do a Wildlife Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Do something about something going on in the course in terms of biodiversity. And we're also on Facebook, the Glenelg Golf Club Course Maintenance Team.
Awesome. Yeah. So go out and search that, ladies and gentlemen listening, and I will be sharing some bits and pieces on my socials as well after you hear this podcast, so that you can just click on it and go and follow from there as well to make life a little bit easier for you. But that's the place to go. You're going to see some really unique stuff. You're going to see some really interesting things that are being done, and you're going to look at a golf course in a different way. And I think in general, the more that golf courses can start to showcase some of this stuff, and there are plenty out there that are doing it, but it's far from the majority. And I think we need to consider how we narrate to the rest of the world what we are able to do in the land of a golf course.
Yes, exactly. And there's so much potential.
Indeed.
We all have potential to do something.
Absolutely. Something to be great and do better. Yes. Do better.
Yes. Do better. That's right.
Do better for the environment sustainably. So, Monina Gilbey, thank you so much for a wonderful insight into the work that's been going on with yourself, Superintendent Tim Warren, the team, and Glenelg as a golf club as a whole. I think the time that you've been there and that as part of the leadership team has been quite remarkable and profound, and culminating, like I said, winning, and congratulations to winning the Claude Crockford Award this year at the Australian Sports Turf Managers Association Conference. Quite remarkable, and well done to you guys for doing so. And I thank you greatly for your openness and showing us and talking us through what goes on behind the scenes to a wonderful golf course and golf club at Glenelg, and all the hard work that's been done on something that's we need to look forward to, that we need to try to do better at. And you guys, as I mentioned before, are certainly flying the flag in Australia for us around the world, and people that are seeing it from other parts of the world, and locally as well. We can see what's going on, and really look at the model that you've become, because I think that's probably the right term. Glenelg is a model for sustainability in golf, and I think you guys should be most proud. And certainly yourself in leading that, the vegetation side, the biodiversity side of it with the golf course is incredible. And hats off to you for all the amazing work that you've done there, and continue to do so. And I look forward to seeing how much better it gets. and certainly where you continue to showcase what's going on. It's amazing. So well done, Monina, and thank you very much for being part of the podcast.
Great. Thank you very much, Steve.
Now, how's that for something a little bit different? Talking about parts of a golf course that we don't play golf on. The background, the wallpaper, the beauty, the character of a golf course, and all the other parts that make up a golf course outside the turf areas. Monina is so experienced and, as you heard, so passionate about the other parts of a golf course, the biodiversity of a golf course, the flora and fauna that make up the landscape within the boundaries of a golf course. She's just absolutely all over it, and all the work that's being done at Glenelg between Monina, Superintendent Tim Warren, and the team overall, and the golf club. I've got to say that because the direction of the club and backing the work that's being done is a key to all this as well. So, look, wonderful insight. Thank you to Monina. You heard about her. You heard about the social media channels there for Glenelg Golf Club and the maintenance teams to go to. So go back. I'm going to put them in the show notes so you can click on them. And if you haven't taken notes already, you'll be able to follow those and get around there and follow them and see what's going on and check out some of the stuff that's happening there. It's fantastic. The beautiful images, the wildlife, all the things outside golf that we wouldn't think are part of a golf course. And you'll be able to read some technical information about them as well. And it's fantastic stuff. And if you want to hear more about it, look, get in touch with me. I can certainly, if you want to learn more about what they're up to, you want some tips, if you're from another golf club, you're interested in learning, get in touch with the team at Glenelg, and they'll be able to, I'm sure, assist you, point you in the right direction. But these are the things, in my opinion, that we need to be, as an industry, looking to improve and do better. And Glenelg, for me, are the model for that. And winning the Claude Crockford Award tells you enough of what they've been up to and how well they've been doing. So congratulations to Monina and winning the Claude Crockford, being part winner there with Superintendent Tim Warren. And congratulations to everyone involved at Glenelg. And Monina, thank you so much for being open about everything that's going on that you're passionate about and all the hard work that's happening in behind the fences there at Glenelg Golf Club. And hopefully, just hopefully, more and more people are starting to hear about it and understand just what benefits golf courses have and the land can have to the local environment and the local community as well. And it's fantastic. As I always leave you with, guys, you hit them clean, we'll keep them green. What a fantastic episode that was. And I look forward to catching up with you very soon.